$100 used to feel like real money. Now, you can spend it before you even realize where it went. A few groceries, some gas, one ordinary meal, and suddenly, it's gone. And the strangest part? You might be earning more money than you were years ago. So why do you still feel broke? Where did your money actually go? Maybe you've felt this at the grocery store. You walk in for a few basic things: milk, bread, eggs, meat, fruit, something for dinner. Nothing luxurious, nothing unusual. You reach the checkout, see the total, and wonder how something that looks like so little could cost so much. Then it happens at the gas station. You watch the numbers climb from $30 to $40 to $50, and suddenly, driving to work feels expensive. Then comes the rent, utilities, insurance, the phone bill, the car payment, the unexpected repair, the medical bill. None of these expenses has to destroy your budget by itself. That's what makes it so frustrating. A few dollars here, $10 there, another increase somewhere else. And slowly, the money that once gave you breathing room disappears. This feeling isn't just in your head. U.S. consumer prices were 3.5% higher in June 2026 than a year earlier. Food was up 3%, shelter was up 3.3%, but those averages hide very different stories. Gasoline was up 26.7%, airline fares were up 26.5%, and motor vehicle maintenance and repair was up 7%. So when you hear that inflation is 3.5%, that number is real, but it doesn't necessarily describe your life. You don't buy the average American basket. You buy your groceries, pay your rent, fill your car, pay your bills, and live in your own city. The economy has one set of numbers, but your wallet has its own story. That's why you don't experience inflation as a percentage. You experience it as a receipt, a gas pump, a rent payment, a grocery bill, a restaurant check, or a medical bill. You remember what something used to cost, then you see the new price and think, when did this become so expensive? Maybe a meal used to cost $5 and now costs $8. Maybe filling your tank used to feel like a minor expense and now you watch the number climb while doing the math in your head. Maybe your grocery trip used to be predictable, but now every trip feels like a small surprise. And here's where things get interesting. Inflation doesn't mean every price rises equally. Some prices move quickly, others slowly, some barely move, and some even fall. So saying everything is more expensive isn't literally true, but saying my life feels more expensive can still be completely understandable. Because the things you cannot easily avoid matter more than the things you can choose not to buy. You can postpone buying a television. You can wait before replacing your phone. You can skip a restaurant or cancel a subscription, but you still need somewhere to live. You still need food. You may still need transportation, electricity, insurance, and healthcare. The expenses you cannot simply walk away from are the ones that can squeeze your budget the hardest. Imagine an ordinary household: 2 adults, 1 home, 1 car, a normal grocery budget, normal utility bills, normal insurance, nothing extravagant. They're not buying sports cars, staying in luxury hotels, or flying private. They're simply trying to live a normal life. One expense rises, so they adjust. Another rises, so they adjust again. Then the car needs a repair. The insurance changes. The grocery bill gets a little larger. No single event destroys the budget, but together, these expenses slowly remove the space between income and expenses. And that space is incredibly important, because financial freedom isn't just about how much money you earn. It's about how much room you have after the things you cannot avoid are paid for. If you earn $5,000 a month and almost all of it is already committed, you can have a decent income and still feel financially trapped. Someone else might earn less but have fewer unavoidable expenses. Someone else might earn much more and have enormous financial breathing room. That's why income alone doesn't tell the whole story. The real question is, how much of your income is actually left? And this creates one of the strangest experiences with money. You get a raise, you feel good, your paycheck is bigger. For a moment you think, finally, maybe you can save more, pay off debt, take a vacation, or simply stop worrying so much. Then reality catches up. Rent is higher, food costs more, insurance costs more, your commute costs more, something breaks. Suddenly the raise doesn't feel like freedom anymore. It feels like the money was already spent before you received it. You didn't necessarily become careless. You didn't suddenly start buying luxury products. The cost of maintaining your normal life simply absorbed the extra income. That's why someone can honestly say, I make more money than I used to, but I still feel broke. Those two things can both be true. Earning more money doesn't automatically mean having more money left. And there is another reason rising prices feel so painful. We don't experience money as percentages. We experience it as things. $5 for coffee, $60 at the grocery store, $200 for a utility bill, a $1,000 repair, a monthly rent payment. These numbers become emotional. You don't feel a 3% increase. You feel the extra dollars leaving your account. You feel it when you tap your card, when you check your bank balance, and when payday arrives, and most of the money already has somewhere to go. That's why everything is expensive isn't really an economic calculation. It's a feeling that your money doesn't stretch as far as it used to. And that's what purchasing power really means. $100 is still $100. The bill hasn't changed, but if the things around you cost more, that $100 can accomplish less. The money didn't physically shrink, its buying power did. And there's something even more confusing about this. When inflation slows down, prices don't necessarily return to where they were. Imagine something costs $10, then rises to $12. Later, inflation slows. That doesn't automatically mean the price goes back to $10. It can simply mean the $12 price stops rising as quickly. The price remains higher. The increase becomes part of the new reality. That's why falling inflation doesn't necessarily feel like falling prices. If prices are rising more slowly, you're still paying the higher price. You're just no longer watching it climb as quickly. When people hear inflation is coming down, they may imagine things are getting cheaper. But those are not the same thing. Sometimes, it simply means things are becoming more expensive at a slower rate. Eventually, the higher price becomes normal. You complain about it, adjust, and keep going. Then one day, you find an old receipt and see the old price. Suddenly, you remember that the same amount of money used to buy more. That's when inflation stops being a statistic. It becomes a memory of what your money used to be able to do. But not everyone experiences rising prices in the same way. Someone with savings may have more time to adjust. Someone with little or no savings may have almost no room for error. Someone with a fixed housing payment may be protected from certain increases. Someone who rents may face different pressures. Someone who drives every day is more exposed to fuel prices. Someone who works remotely may not be. Someone with a high income may absorb a higher grocery bill without changing their lifestyle. Someone living paycheck to paycheck may have to put something back. Same price, different consequence. That's why financial pressure isn't just about prices. It's about the relationship between prices and your financial margin. And when your margin is small, every increase becomes louder. $10 doesn't sound like much until it's the last $10 you have. $20 doesn't sound catastrophic until it determines whether you can pay another bill. $100 isn't a fortune, but for someone living close to the edge, $100 can determine whether the month ends comfortably or painfully. This is why people with less money can feel rising prices much more intensely. Not necessarily because they pay more for everything, but because they have fewer options. If something becomes expensive, wealthy people can change brands, move, wait, buy something else, or absorb the increase. Someone with very little money may already be buying the cheapest option available. There may be nowhere left to cut, and when there's nowhere left to cut, even small changes become enormous. This is where the idea of financial comfort becomes important. Comfort isn't necessarily about owning luxury. Sometimes comfort simply means having enough room that a surprise doesn't destroy your month. A broken washing machine, a medical bill, a car repair, a higher utility bill, a missed shift, or a temporary reduction in income. If you have enough financial space, these things are painful. If you don't, they can become disasters. And then social media adds another layer. Every day, we're shown people spending money. Luxury cars, huge houses, expensive restaurants, designer clothes, international vacations, private jets, yachts, hotels that cost more for one night than some people earn in a month. We know these lifestyles aren't normal, but when you see something every day, your brain can start treating it as normal. Suddenly, your ordinary life feels smaller. You work, you pay your bills, you try to save. Then you open your phone and see someone your age driving a car that costs more than your house. You wonder, what am I doing wrong? But there's a problem. You see the car, but you don't necessarily see the financing. You see the vacation, but you don't see the debt. You see the house, but you don't see the monthly payment. You see the lifestyle, but you don't see the balance sheet. Some people really are wealthy, but the internet has made extraordinary lifestyles incredibly visible. That visibility can make ordinary financial life feel inadequate. It creates a strange combination. The things you need are becoming more expensive, while the things you want are constantly being displayed in front of you. But not being able to afford a luxury lifestyle isn't necessarily a financial failure. Most people aren't trying to become billionaires. They aren't trying to own a private jet or live in a mansion. Most people simply want a normal life, a safe home, food in the refrigerator, a reliable car, a little money saved, a vacation once in a while, and enough left over that one unexpected expense doesn't destroy the month. That doesn't sound extravagant, but when ordinary life becomes more expensive, even ordinary goals can feel further away. And that's where the real frustration comes from. You don't necessarily want more luxury. You just want the same basic life to feel possible. So where did our money go? It didn't simply disappear. The dollar didn't physically become smaller. The money in your bank account didn't vanish overnight. What changed was the world around it. Prices changed, costs changed, your income may have changed, your financial margin may have changed, and the amount of life your money can comfortably buy may have changed with it. That's why someone can earn more and still feel poorer. That's why someone can spend carefully and still feel broke. That's why someone can get a raise and still wonder where the money went. And that's why the most important number in your financial life may not be your salary. It may be the amount left after everything else takes its share. Because that's the money that gives you choices. That's the money that gives you breathing room. That's the money that allows an unexpected expense to be an inconvenience instead of a crisis. If that leftover amount keeps shrinking, life starts to feel smaller. You say no more often, you postpone things, you worry more, you check your bank account more frequently, you think about money when you should be thinking about something else. Eventually, financial pressure becomes psychological. You aren't just managing money anymore. You're managing uncertainty, and uncertainty has a cost. It changes what risks you can take, whether you can leave a bad job, whether you can move, whether you can handle an emergency, and whether you can say no. That's why money matters far beyond the things it can buy. Money buys options, money buys time, money buys flexibility. And sometimes, the most valuable thing money buys is simply the ability to breathe. So the next time you walk into a grocery store and wonder why a few ordinary items cost so much, you're not necessarily imagining it. When you fill up your car and feel the bill in your stomach, you're not the only one. When payday arrives and seems to disappear immediately, there's a reason that feeling is so common. Prices have changed. Your expenses matter. Your income matters. Your financial margin matters. And the gap between what comes in and what goes out determines how much freedom your money actually gives you. The strange thing is that inflation can slow down while higher prices remain. Your paycheck can increase while your financial breathing room barely changes. You can work harder and still feel like you're running in place. And maybe that's the real reason everything feels so expensive. It's not simply that prices went up. It's that the amount of life your money can comfortably buy has become harder to feel. $100 is still $100. But what that $100 can do for you, that's the part that changed. And now we're left with a much bigger question. If your money has to work harder just to maintain the life you already have, what happens when you want to get ahead? What happens when you want to save, buy a home, start a family, leave a job, handle an emergency, or simply stop worrying about money every month? Because the real financial story isn't just about why groceries cost more. It's about why some people have enough room to absorb rising costs, while others have almost no room at all. And once you understand that difference, you start seeing money differently. Because money isn't just about how much comes in. It's about how much freedom remains after life takes its share. And for millions of people, that is the number that matters most. Not how much money comes in, but how much is left.